Hi, it's Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions, and this week we're looking at decision making. And a part of decision making is some of these rationale and reasoning skills that we can use that will either feed our positive cycle or feed our negative cycle. And so I wanted to look at Socratic reasoning. So Socratic reasoning is from the Greek philosopher Socrates, and it's a method of critical thinking that involves kind of questioning these assumptions, exploring underlying beliefs, and seeking the truth through dialogue. And we can do this with others, and that is a very common way, that a teaching method is to use the Socratic reasoning, but we can do it with ourselves. And we can start really looking at, ourselves and what is our present state when it comes to the decisions that we're making. And so we start to ask these questions so that we can find what the answers are. Is this a valid or invalid data point that we're utilizing? And so in cognitive behavioral therapy, I'll often give my clients the Socratic questions for them to look at when it comes to their anxious or negative thoughts. And so what this does is it helps them to start building a sense of realization of what serves us and what doesn't serve us. What is the pieces of information that we hold on to that really are not serving us, and yet we think it's something that's so important. So as we're going through our mind, and I see our mind as kind of an office. People are coming in all day long just throwing papers everywhere. And so what we're trying to do is find some kind of organized chaos. So how do we organize all those thoughts so it doesn't feel so overwhelming? How do we get up from our desk and leave for the day and not step on a bunch of papers? So we have our inbox, our outbox, our to be filed box, and we set things into these parts. The Socratic reasoning will help us to decide where these things go so that they're not just spread across our desks, they're not sitting everywhere, and they're not crammed in the back of a file cabinet because we don't want to deal with it, because that's repression, and that's where bad things happen. That's where we start to get inflammation and chronic illness, is when we repress too much. We've got to keep it on the forefront and say, does this serve me or does it not? So what's some of the Socratic reasoning? Well, critical questioning is a big part of it. It begins with asking a probing question that challenges the assumptions and reveals deeper truths. So by questioning negative self-beliefs and assumptions, the reasoning will help us to be able to really look at a bigger depth. So if I'm saying, why do I believe I am not good enough, can lead to an exploration of past experiences and realization that this belief may not be grounded in reality. Just the idea of even being able to get to a point where it says, I'm in a reactionary state because I don't feel like I'm good enough, is a great place to just find a sense of reasoning. Because often we're just making these quick decisions. We're not even saying what we're relating it to. And that's where therapy and coaching is really, really helpful, because it allows you to find those realizations that you may not come up with on your own. So let's look at dialogue and reflection, the second kind of key component to Socratic reasoning. Dialogue and reflection, I don't know why I can't talk today, is a process that involves open-ended dialogue where answers really help participant reflect on their beliefs and consider alternative perspective. Encouraging that open-mindedness and being really aware, again, being present in the here and now without judgment. This dialogue and reflection is 100% within that. So we're not trying to inflect a assumption or a belief. What we're trying to do is find what our belief is. What is it that we are trying to say? It can help us build empathy and an understanding kind of more about what is our positive and what is our negative thinking. The last piece is continual inquiry. So we just kind of continuously ask questions where answers will lead to more questions, and it fosters an ongoing explanation and understanding. So we have a challenging negative narrative worksheet that I send to all of my clients when they get lost in these negative thought processes. And what it's doing is asking a series of questions that allow you to put in perspective these negative thoughts. So what's the worst outcome? What's the best outcome? What's the likely outcome? Will this matter in a week? Will it matter in a month? Will it matter in a year? So these easy questions help us to better understand what we are looking at so that we can put it in perspective and say, you know, again, does this serve me? Or am I getting lost in my negative narrative? Am I using invalid data points? Now, if we're not doing it correctly, we can get into overanalysis, right? We can get lost in these ideas of what ifs. What if I don't do it right? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I never know how to make a decision, right? So we're getting lost. We're avoiding making decisions by getting lost in overanalysis. It can create self-criticism. So if you're already in a negative narrative and you're in a negative mindset and you are allowing that negative bias to really take over, you may find that you're just sitting there judging yourself. You're not allowing yourself to be open-minded. And that's why it's important that we continue to ground to positive affirmations. We ground to the here and now so we can let go of that judgment, have radical acceptance, to be able to have these questions go through. We're not in the right part of our cycle if we're stuck in self-criticism. And then a relentless doubt, where there's just like a lot of skepticism to any thought that we may have, and we get stuck in these negative mindsets as a result. So we just want to make sure that we're not just constantly creating a sense of questions, but again, we're interjecting in the distressing thought or feeling. We're finding acceptance. Radical acceptance is not agreeing. It's understanding and being present without judgment. And we're taking one step forward. So that action, we create a interjection through the Socratic questioning, then we have an action. That's how we get into the positive cycle. We build that sense of self-compassion, that love for ourselves, so that we know that if we go through this process that we will feel better, that we will like it, and we just create the motivation to get that far. And we create boundaries for ourselves, that we're not just sitting there reflecting on everything, but that we're feeding the positive cycle and not getting lost in the avoidance. So I hope this helps. It's a lot to consider, but it is how we can either break through the negative cycle and find a positive cycle, or we can just keep on festering on that bank of despair and suffering. There are a lot of things that we can look at in previous videos. So looking at that negative narrative and the cycle, there's some communication things that you can start looking at, cognitive distortions. These will help you to better understand what is going on and how to use Socratic questioning in your life so that you can be more successful and accomplished. I am Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness. Thank you so much. Hi, it's Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness. I hope you like this video. And if you do, please go and like, share, and comment below. I am really passionate about, helping people live a happier and healthier life. And I really do believe that our mind is the secret, the way in which we can get into a better place. If we can just understand, be present, and understand what our mind is doing. There's no judgment, there's no shame. The mind is just acting like an organ and trying to find survival. So I do appreciate your time watching my videos. I do hope that you will subscribe to my page, get some exclusive content. Go to my website, Counseling Wellness Solutions, to look at all of the variety of things that I have to offer. I really like the idea of being able to offer a variety of supports, from these free videos to newsletters to subscriptions where you get monthly challenges and accountability partners and learn a lot more about what your brain is doing and why you act and react and why people act and react the way that they do. I have self-help books. I've got a workbook coming out later this month, or actually next month in September, that I hope that you'll enjoy, that will walk you through and build a framework to happiness and success. I've got groups, success groups. One's kicking off on September 9th, and we're going to go through 9 weeks of living a life worth living. Next 9 weeks will be the emotional reasoning, and the third 9 weeks will be interpersonal skills. How do we negotiate our value? How do we ask for more money? How do we ask to be in a better place? And how do we lean on people to get that? And then I have my individual therapy and coaching. So if you're wanting a more specific support, I'm here for that as well. So as well as my boutique retreats where it's just 3 people, me, you, and 2 others, looking at how we build this sense of accountability, how we really interject in our lives, what is causing us despair, and how do we break through it in an intensive 3-day retreat. So go and like my page, put some comments down, start that accountability, look at my website. Thank you so much for supporting me. I look forward to helping you in any way that I can. Thank you so much.